Attention, all you fishes in the sea. Welcome to the Fisch Bowl with Sam Fisher.
Peter G. Holmstrom, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to swim in the bowl with me.
Nice one.
Yeah. First off, I am a huge fan. I actually met you and Courtney and Zia and the whole band during the Distortland tour in Pittsburgh. It was actually literally my 28th birthday, April
cool.
18th, and I got VIP tickets and I got to come see you guys do like a sound check.
Oh, right. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
Signed a bunch of stuff. I was so excited that I forgot to bring my Dandy Warhols Come Down tour poster with me to get autographed as well. But I have it framed, both posters, even though one isn't autographed and one is. But I also have to say that during that show, you guys took requests for songs to play. And one of my all-time favorite albums from the Dandy Warhols is Earth to the Dandy Warhols.
Mhm.
My three favorite songs on the album are, in the order that it goes, is Wasp and the Lotus, and then I Dreamt of Yes, and Talk Radio. And then I Dreamt of Yes is like one of my top favorite songs ever that you guys did, and you performed that live specifically for my birthday. And I also remember that you did it as a closer, and a lot of stuff was a little more fast paced. People were doing other requests and stuff that got VIP stuff, but I was like waiting the whole show to hear it, and I had my phone ready to like record the whole thing and everything, and you finally did it as a closer, and it's one of those rare live concert experiences where a band that's like as big as you guys has a famous song and everybody knows the song that are like real dandy heads. And it went silent. Like it went dead silent. It went from like people cheering and, all that to dead silent. You did the song, Courtney. I remember he was saying that it was hard on his lungs to, perform live, and that's why it isn't like done as much. But he did it specifically for my birthday, and as soon as the song was over, like the crowd went nuts. It was like, and I had that special thing that I was like, I know that like all these people are going to experience something that is really specifically meant for me, but like it's great to share, like and I'm sure everyone that was at that show and remembers that show like I do is going to hear this interview and be like, it's because of him that
Yeah.
uh, that song was done. And I just want to say that it's like it was a rare, you see that stuff in movies and stuff sometimes, and
Mhm.
it's like, is it real? And I have to say, like, that was one of the like a magical experience to see like music kind of touch people and in a way that's like profound like that. So I wanted to thank you for that, thank Courtney for that, Zia, everyone. That was like a special experience that I had to just share with you starting off, because I'm sure you'll play a lot of lot of shows, a lot of touring.
Mhm. Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up just because I think we're gonna attempt that song again tonight.
Oh, there you go. Awesome. Awesome.
We got to run through it at sound check, but yeah, we'll see. I know that the plan is to do it tonight.
That's awesome. I hope another audience gets to experience like what Pittsburgh got to experience way back in 2016. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you first off because
Oh,
that was a personal experience, and it meant a lot to me. So my first question for you as the official interview starts is, what got you interested in music?
my parents always played a lot of music, and specifically, like the first real thing I remember like connecting with, like beyond like kids music was my dad brought home Dark Side of the Moon. And as a, I can't remember exactly how old I was, but 4, 5, 6, yeah, 4 or 5, probably 4 or 5. I don't know. I just remember the room full of clocks and the heartbeat sounds and just like the voices and just being fascinated with that aspect of it more than the songs or anything. But yeah, and just from that point on was always like trying to learn how to play different instruments. My parents were always getting me and my sister some sort of lessons, so all the way through high school. And my dad brought home a guitar at one point and taught me a few things. He taught himself a few things and then taught me them. And then he never played guitar ever again. I still have that guitar. It's very important to me. Yeah, I don't know. It's just been something that I liked and wanted to do, and before this band, never actually thought it would be possible to do it in the capacity I've been doing it in. It's still like I'm incredibly thankful for the luck that we got handed. It's been amazing.
I mean, I'm 36. I've been following you guys since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny that you say Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, and Pink Floyd in general, because obviously, like with the Dandy Warhol sound, Pink Floyd it has to be a major influence, along with obviously, Lou Reed and the Velvet Underground and everything. That actually takes me to like my second question, which I was wondering, like, who do you consider, like, I know I just named Pink Floyd and Lou Reed, the Velvet Underground and all that, but who do you consider like some of your musical influences for guitar playing?
Daniel Ash from Bauhaus, Love and Rockets, Tones on Tail was hugely important. Just sonically, just he's a fantastic player and always does cool. Like it just sounds cool, and he's got chops that and doesn't use them the way like metal guys or blues guys or whatever. He just has incredibly cool taste. So he was one that like kind of found pretty early on. Kevin Shields was huge. Will Sargent, Johnny Marr a little bit later on, but I mean those are the guitar players that kind of grew up, or those that was like it's like Pink Floyd and all that stuff was from more my dad's music, and then like the post punk stuff was what really interested me, and it was yeah, it's just it wasn't. It's more about textures and sounds as opposed to scales and stuff. So that's what I like, and that it does go back to the sort of Pink Floyd, just a record full of sounds. So,
Right.
yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm a very big Floyd person. I tend to lean more towards Gilmour than Waters and Sid Barrett.
Yeah.
That's just my particular taste. But I have listened to all of the various iterations of Pink Floyd, and it's one of my top favorite bands. Lou Reed, I love on so many different levels. I mean, definitely. I mean, everything from starting with the Velvet Underground to his solo stuff, and throughout his career, I'm huge, huge fan of that. And another thing that I'm a big fan of is movies. I went to school for screenwriting, and that's kind of where I started my podcast. And obviously, your music has been played in quite a few different films. One of them that, it's only because they've been playing it on TV so much that I'm like, I know this, but I've known it for a while now, so it's not like a new thing. But just like re-familiarizing myself with it is the what is it? The Farrelly brothers. It's
Oh yeah, it's something about Mary.
Tell Me About Mary and Dumb and Dumber.
Wait, we're in Dumb and Dumber?
Yeah,
How did I not know that? Huh.
yeah.
Okay, cool. That's I think that's Brant's favorite movie. No, it was at one point at least.
I'm obviously a '90s kid, so Jim Carrey, anything,
Sure.
I'm
Yeah, yeah.
I'm all for that. But yeah, it's actually specifically the scene where they have the big fight, and then like Jeff Daniels' character like starts walking down the road, and then like Jim Carrey comes back with a little scooter thing, little bike thing or whatever, and then they drive to Aspen from there. It's
Uh-huh.
that scene. I can't
Okay.
remember which song, but it's I know it's you guys,
Okay.
and so definitely Something About Mary.
Yeah.
Another film is one with Ryan Phillippe. Nietzsche is played in it.
Huh?
Antitrust.
Yeah, yeah. There's that one. There's another there was a couple other films around that era that oh man, I can't remember all the names, but there was that was the time period where we were in so many films and advertisements. It was I think we were the second most licensed band at that point. It was like Moby and then us.
Right, right. I remember hearing Moby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
a ton of movies.
And that's back when it wasn't cool to have your songs in advertisements. So it's like the money was way better. And we got a lot of shit for it, but God, it's how we survived. It was amazing.
Right, right.
It's why
Well,
we own a studio. It's like it's the reason we exist in the way we do at the moment. So
right, right. I mean, like, what is this is a question that I'm actually very interested to hear your take on because obviously there were like, some major fundamental bands, including you and the Brian Jonestown Massacre and like Ride and, other bands like that were like, the pivotal bands for like what, like Shoegaze and Dream Pop and basically the genre, the key genre that has spawned it as like, I kind of consider you and the Brian Jonestown Massacre as like the two really fundamental bands that has spawned this whole upsurge of bands that are like out today and that have come into existence since like the 2000s on like what is like your take on like being proud of that like bands that you're interested in that have like obviously used you as like inspirations for their own music and stuff like that because I've interviewed a lot like more current bands and to hear from someone who like I said I consider the Dandy Warhols like a fundamental influence.
it's it's not something I ever thought about when we started this. It's just something that happened that I think right time, right place. I mean, it's a strange one because we met Jonestown like early on and did a bunch of stuff together. Did some shows and did a few tours and have remained in contact with them. But it's like you stick around long enough, you're going to influence somebody.
Right.
We had a movie that kind of helped get our names out there
Right.
together, and that may have been the seed of the whole kind of psych rock scene that happened, kind of afterwards. I don't know. It's completely unintentional, so it's amazing. Bands like Ride and Slow Dive and My Bloody Valentine were hugely influential for me and are a lot of the reason why I play the way I do. And to have people like take that my interpretation of that and then do their thing is incredibly cool.
I definitely agree. I definitely say like I'm a rocker. I love rock and roll, and I
Mhm.
and I love all subgenres and offshoots of rock and roll. And much like you with your dad being a into getting you into Floyd, I would not be into music and movies if it was not for my dad. And, where a lot like, your dad playing Pink Floyd, I remember hearing Floyd a lot, specifically Dark Side of the Moon. And the other big band that I'd hear a lot in the car when I was little, and this is like, really little, was The Who. I'd hear the Tommy a lot, but Who's Next, which became my favorite album of theirs. And that really, started my interest. And of course, growing up in the 90s, which, I mean, among you guys, there was the whole grunge movement. There was the rap movement, like there was like a plethora of just music going on. And I kind of look at like the 90s as like, the 60s, you know, in a lot of ways, it was the first like real music movement with like, rock and roll, the next wave of it, like since, you know, pretty much classic rock like ended. And then you had the 80s punk scene, which, was significant, but like I kind of consider like, grunge, like grunge was like a worldwide,
Sure.
thing.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, I mean, I love exploring new genres of rock and music, and stuff that's been showing up on my Spotify is like a new genre that's called new wave grunge. And it's basically like all these, with shoegaze and stuff like that, there's all these bands that, are like 20 something year old kids that, grew up listening to all the grunge stuff, and they've done exactly what, has happened with the bands that, grew up listening to you, and they fuse, a new genre where it's like you're hearing like you could hear like, Soundgarden and Smashing Pumpkins and like Weezer in like one song,
Mhm.
and it's like a totally different,
Yeah.
it's like I hear it, but like it's like a fusion, of like everything.
Yeah.
And, I think stuff like that is really cool to see happen, especially like as, music kind of evolves.
Yeah. And I mean, these days, like with everything being so accessible, it's like the influences are much broader. So it should create something, it should allow for, some pretty interesting things to happen. The hard part is just finding those things.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the things that I really try to do with, interviewing bands and, I mean, you're you're like an exception because you're like like I think the biggest musician I've interviewed to date, which I'm very proud of, and because the Dandy Warhols and the Brian Jonestown Massacre are like two of my top favorite bands of all time, like right next to each other. And because of like listening to your music, I've now kind of found that like the whole genre that, you've created and continue to strive making music in is like has become like my favorite genre of like rock and roll. I really like progressive rock also, and like heavy metal, but it has to be more like old school Sabbathian, like heavy metal. But like those are like my three kind of like top favorite rock genres. And it just is like, there's something like, I mean, you can just listen to the whole album and just kind of go into, you know, a creative, mindset, whether you're, smoking some good stuff or not,
Yeah.
that
And
that type of music. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, that's definitely always the goal for us and for any other project I'm involved in is I mean, each song is individually important, but the whole record is the finished piece. It's like it's supposed to fit together in, it's yeah, it's designed to listen to the whole way through, even though most people probably don't listen to it that way. It's still for the people that do. That's what it's there for.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, I'm guilty of making mixtapes,
Sure. I mean, well, no,
mix
there's
CDs.
nothing wrong with that because every song
Right,
needs to stand on its own as well. And
right.
and sometimes kind of, I mean, you hear anything, every song you hear differently because of what comes before and after it. So, it's like sometimes you need to break it up to hear that you like it. I find that all the time. So it's like I generally like will listen to a record the first time by itself and stick it in a big mix playlist and hear it randomly here and there with completely different tracks on either side. And that's when a lot of times when I'll notice which song I like the best. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, you back when like burning CDs was a thing, I would often make a lot of like mixed CDs with your stuff, either mixed with like the Jonestown Massacre, or I do like half you and half like Rage Against the Machine or something. Like really contrast, like,
Sure.
go like start with Rage Against the Machine, and then have it like, like half the mixtape, and I'd really get it down to like an art form. Like I like because you could hold like I think the max you can hold on a CD is like 100 and like 20 minutes or something. Like yeah, like something like that.
Yeah.
But I would get it down to an art form that I like have. I look on the iTunes like as I'm making it, and I'd count like I'd get it. I'd be so like OCD meticulous with like what I could add and what I couldn't that I'd get it down to like there'd be like 10 seconds max left on the CD. So so
Wow.
so like I totally max out like the maximum amount of music you could put on a regular burning CD and listen to it, at work or in your car or something, and that was like a big thing. And I also got to plug the Dandy's new album. Let me sure I got it here. Rock Maker,
Yeah.
and Sun Adams' new album, Everything Forever.
Yes.
That's two new really well, yeah, two new
Two.
releases from you, and one from the Dandy Warhols and one from your side project, Sun Adams.
Yeah. Yep. And Pete International Airport just released a cassette with some remixes, a sort of cassette EP. Got remixes by Andy Bell from Ride and Tom Smith from this band called Holy Youth Movement that everybody should check out. And my really good friend Daniel Sparks did a remix as well. He goes by Omniscuro.
Awesome.
Yeah, Daniel's all over every record, every PIA record, pretty much. He's an old school friend, an incredibly talented musician.
Very cool. Very cool. And actually, one thing I wanted to tell you, this little story I have, and it's in relation to my favorite song off of Rockmaker, which is a collaboration with Slash.
Mm-hmm.
The story actually is about Slash. I am a big horror nut, like horror movies,
Uh-huh.
and I follow like a lot of stuff in Pittsburgh, and I've covered like a lot of different horror themed events, conventions, and stuff and whatnot. And this had to be over 5 years back, but John Carpenter came to Pittsburgh to the Carnegie Library Music Hall in Homestead to perform his scores. And it just so happened that, like, I think John Carpenter was playing on like a Sunday, and Guns N' Roses was supposed to play one of the stadiums the following like Wednesday. I, because I'm Pittsburgh, a Pittsburghie, or however you want to you want to like say it. And because I follow that horror stuff, I got like a buy tickets early sort of thing before they go on sale. So that's what I did, and like the tickets I got were literally like front row, dead center. I get to the concert and Slash is there with like a big, Samoan, you know, 7 foot tall something bodyguard that like
Uh-huh.
he's not letting anyone get near him to talk. The show starts. Long story short, I have better seats than Slash.
Very nice.
But that song on the new Dandy's album is my favorite off the album. I guitar and everything is awesome. My question was that like a mixture of Slash and you, or did you like let Slash play, or like what was
So the main guitar riff is actually Courtney.
okay.
I think he's playing, if I remember right, I think it's actually him playing a bass riff that a mutual friend of ours came up with ages ago. I changed it to a guitar riff, and that's where the song came from. And then Slash does all the wah solo stuff all over it,
Okay.
stuff that sounds like Slash.
Right.
Uh, and we sent him essentially a finished track that just didn't, we wanted him to play on it, and he pretty much did exactly what we hoped he would do. I think we moved a few things around to give like the breakdown a little different feel, and and maybe took a little bit out underneath some of the vocal parts, but otherwise it's what he sent us. I played some guitar on that track, but it's mainly just some kind of noisy stuff in the background. But I played bass. I played the bass guitar on that.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
That
it's like,
song is no, go ahead, go ahead.
oh, it's like I came up with a guitar part that I liked, and I'm like, oh no, this is actually a better bass line. So I had to apologize to Zia in advance and put it down. Yeah, it just supported the track in the right way.
Awesome. Oh, that song is what I would consider the smoking song on on
Yeah,
the album.
that's one that's probably going to be in our live set from now on. It's just it works live really well. I do my version of Slash. uh, I tried to play like him and I just can't. So I've figured out something that works. And
Awesome.
definitely I became a better guitar player because of him, just because he played on that song. So thank you, Slash.
Awesome. Awesome. I for one cannot wait till you come back to Pittsburgh and I hopefully get to hear that live.
Oh yeah,
Um,
sure, definitely.
Holding Me Up is another one of my top favorite Dandy Warhol songs. That one I'd often put on mixtapes like right after the three set that I originally said, Wasp and Lotus, and then I Dreamt of Yes and Talk Radio. I'd often have Holding Me Up come after Talk Radio, and the way like Talk Radio ends and then it just goes into Holding Me Up is a very like nice transition, and I'd often like jam out to that quite a bit. I used to work at like one of my first jobs was working at a gas station, and you would not believe some of the cool stories that happen when you work at a gas station and are playing all these mixtapes and all of these people that are like probably your parents' age and my parents' age are coming in and they're listening to first it was like classic rock, so to be like how was a kid, I was like 18 then, how was a kid, your age, like listening to that stuff. Well, I'll tell you what, One guy gave me a joint on the holidays because he knew I was listening to Black Sabbath.
Hmm.
One person burned me like a very rare bootleg Jimi Hendrix album that had Buddy Miles and Jim Morrison on it.
Wait.
Yeah. And it's like nothing like you've ever heard him perform live or studio. It's all like real more bluesy-ish than anything he's ever done. And it's like a rare bootleg recording. So that was pretty cool. And then this old like stoner hippie painter guy who I really got friendly with actually recommended a couple bands, two of them being I've never heard of these bands before until him, and I've since grown to like really like dig into them and like them a lot. One is called Spooky Tooth,
Hmm.
and the other is Atomic Rooster. Big Atomic Rooster fan. That band is so underrated, and I wish people knew about that. A lot more people knew about that band. But I made him a mixtape. He comes back like, a few weeks later after thanking me for it. He's like, listen, my son, I know my son isn't going to do anything with this, and he's not going to appreciate him like I figure a guy like you would. He asked me, I have these like two like it was back when I was like younger than you. I was like in high school or something. They're like vintage suitcases that would hold cassettes. And
All right.
do you want them? I'm like, shit, yeah, I want them. And I still have those. And
Cool.
like within that collection is like all some really like good classic rock music, like Skinner's in there, Zeppelin's in there, Alice Cooper's in there. You know, I actually have to go through the thing to be like, I wonder if I'm like holding on to anything. That's
Right.
like, worth something because I just heard that like certain cassettes are like, selling for like big bucks depending on what they are. But part of me is like, well, does that mean do I want to sell it now or do I want to, hold on to it, and see,
Yeah.
pass it down as like an heirloom or something, But music. It, again, I used to play your stuff in there, mixtapes and stuff, and it got me through some long 8-hour shifts, and in a good way. So
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the Dandy Warhols. Again, you guys just have get to talk to you and to talk about your music and everything. It's like a bucket list item. So I'm very happy to have you on the show and to get to talk to you. And hopefully next time you're in Pittsburgh, who knows? I'd love to again meet you in person for the second time. This time you guys would know who I am,
Mhm.
and we could do like a backstage pass or something, hopefully, but not getting my hopes up. I did want to ask you on the subject of, your other two side projects, Peter International Airport and Sun Adams. How did the two side projects spawn, like after, establishment with the Dandy Warhols?
So in the beginning of the Dandy Warhols, Courtney is obviously still the main songwriter, but back in the beginning, he was essentially the only songwriter. He would take some of the chord changes that I would come up with and make songs out of them. He had more experience doing that or the confidence to do it. And the rest of us were just kind of learning. So when I started coming up with stuff that he wasn't interested in doing, I just had a stockpile of these ideas. And so the my first record was these things that I wanted to do that he wasn't interested in. Or yeah, I guess yeah, that's pretty much how it started. And I had to learn how to do everything, like learned how to write bass lines to it, learned how to just slowly kind of engineer, produce, whatever, create everything. And yeah, the first record Yeah, it was a pretty good, kind of showing what influences I had and maybe being a little derivative of stuff that I was into. And then I don't know, it slowly turned into what it is now, which is I think more I think I have a sort of style at this point, or definitely a way of working that creates a thing. So I mean that's just me exploring. It's me exploring like different chord changes and maybe more complex stuff that doesn't really fit into the dandies. So we'll see, because I ended up bringing in a lot to the last dandies to Rockmaker. So maybe it'll get more complicated how I figure out which song goes where. Sun Adams started as it was a pandemic project with Jason Adams, the singer, and me. It was kind of going to be his solo record, and then he put a band together, and I decided I want to play bass in that band instead of guitar. And now it's a band. It's not anybody's project. It's a proper band, and it's got incredible input into how it sounds, and it's super fun and super easy. It's crazy. If we don't watch ourselves, we will write 2 or 3 songs to rehearsal, just because everybody's just excited about.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's like I'll play a little bass line, and all of a sudden it'll be a song. Somebody will play a beat, and it turns into a song or a guitar part. It's so much fun.
That sounds like how, like, not how, but like how, like a great unit of like creative minds working together,
Yeah,
just very freely to create, you know, art. Um,
yeah, and it's like we've got pretty unique group of like influences in there, and having somebody that's very proficient on a number of different like woodwinds and horns is just like it's a secret weapon.
right, right.
and then and then to have somebody that's like very into like learning how to do sampling and electronics and sequencing, and bringing that in, as well as a guitar player who's very into like kind of garage rock and like definitely kind of, yeah, it's just, I love it. And I'm obsessing on like sort of 80s bass playing, so more post-punk than some of the later stuff, but so it's like it's got this really cool interesting mix.
I I really like both of the side projects. If I had to pick one, I would probably lean a little more towards Sun Adams, a little more over Pete International Airport. Not that, I'm not a fan of Pete International Airport. I like both. It's just I would probably lean a little more towards in favor of Sun Adams. But I really like the first album a lot. The second album, really, really good to see, like, the next chapter, essentially, to see like the ever evolving of like the different sounds from different bands when they go through each album and everything. But I'm definitely a very like Son Adams a lot. And there was one show that you recently played that I was like sharing the hell out on my Facebook page, which was with another band that I'm a big, big fan of, and that was Tremors.
Yeah.
Um, that was a show that I wish was in Pittsburgh, that I would have paid, almost anything to go see, because those two bands, you and Tremors together, that just sounded like, an awesome night of, eventful music.
They're sweethearts. I'm actually gonna, after this wraps up, I'm gonna go have lunch with them.
Awesome. Tell them that I just interviewed you. I love to have them on the show. Big fan, big fan, and I wish I could have been there at that show. It's very ironic. Couple stuff going on here
Yeah.
today, but very, very cool. I was wondering I mean, I know it's been like 20 years now plus almost at this point, but any cool like road stories or tour stories or anything with like the Dandies or the Massacre or just any other like significant bands or cool stuff you could think of that stuck out in your head as like if I have like any memorable, touring stories, like these would be some of them.
I mean, God, there's so many. So it's hard to it's always hard to like pick one out in particular. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I tend to always go back to the opening for David Bowie and getting to see him do sound checks and show, I saw every show and every sound check for 2 months. And seeing him, perform, kind of have fun at sound checks and just like screw around and play different songs, try different things. In Zurich, he did Ziggy Stardust. I think first verse is Elvis, maybe second verse is Lou Reed, and third verse is Bob Dylan.
Wow.
And a really good, imitation. It was so good. And just if I didn't have people sitting with me that I, can go check and go, that happened, right? I just wouldn't even believe it because it just was so cool. And, it's obviously just an honor to be on tour with him and to have been able I mean, I've seen him more than I've seen any other band now. Just, yeah, it's fantastic. I don't know. There's so many stories, so it's like it's difficult to.
I totally understand.
Yeah, and I don't know. The Jonestown ones are so well documented, kind of that. Kind of, a lot of them just need to settle, just be left to lie. You can read Joel's book. There's some good ones in there.
First of all, Bowie again is one of my all-time favorite artists, classic rock, and you know, up until, his untimely passing, which I was even like shocked to hear when that happened. But he's one of the artists that I wish I could have seen just perform live once. And I also, again, back to movies, love Bowie as an actor. Like I have like two, obviously, me being my age, there's Labyrinth, which I still watch when it's on, and I still like love it and enjoy it the same as I probably more now as an adult than as a kid. The other movie that a lot of people don't know about because it's a little more obscure, and you have to kind of be like a real horror fan to know this one is The Hunger.
I thought you were going to say. I mean that was just a very important movie for me when we were growing up, just because it was, I don't know, right age, right time. It's like just absolutely love that one.
I am a big fan of The Hunger. That I think that's one of the most underrated vampire movies from the 80s.
Oh,
And
sure.
and especially with everyone who's in it. Susan Sarandon, Catherine Deneuve. Right, right. Well, actually, Willem
Yeah.
Dafoe. That was his like his he made a like an extra role where he was like one of his first speaking roles in
Yeah.
that movie. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah. So Willem Dafoe got his big break from that movie. And of course there's, The Man Who Fell to Earth and a number of other stuff he's done. I also loved him as Nikola Tesla and The Prestige. And the one movie that I actually found out he was supposed to be in but he passed away before, like literally he was set to be in it, and he passed away, and they had to replace him with Jared Leto, which was Blade Runner 2049. Yeah, that would have been a whole different movie if it was him playing Leto's character. But yeah, big Bowie fan. Love him as a musician, actor, human being. I'm just into music and movies, and I really think like both, kind of go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
It's not just like the score music, even though I kind of view like people who do scores as like the modern day, like, Beethoven's basically.
Yeah.
And then, of course, hearing, how music can affect a scene of a movie and give you like an instant impression of like, you know, like you hear the song and you're like, you immediately think of that scene from that movie, which, often happens with a lot of Quentin Tarantino stuff. But again, whenever I hear your stuff in a movie or just in general, I'm like, time to jam.
That's a cool thing. I mean, I don't know. I always feel like our music is very cinematic and lends itself to that, to that medium quite well.
I definitely agree. I mean, everything I've seen, Dandy Warhol stuff laid the track on film. It's like it almost like adds more importance to the scene that wouldn't have been there before. And that's with
Yeah.
other music too, but it's like I instantly think of, like when I hear Nietzsche, I instantly think of Antitrust, just the specific scene, And I also saw before you guys did the Storyland, I saw when you came to Pittsburgh before that, which was touring with that album.
Oh, the Tales, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I think that
And
was the first show of that tour.
I think that might have been correct if I remember that now. Yeah. That was the first time I saw you guys live.
Okay.
And I left that show being like, holy shit, I saw one of the best musical performances of like my lifetime. And I remember you did the whole album, and then like after you finished, you said, Courtney said, we're gonna take a short break, and then we'll be back to play some more. And the show must have started at like 8 or 9 or something. And I remember after you came back, they were like trying to flag you down or something. To stop playing because in Pittsburgh there's this idiotic rule that with the unions they have to be done by like 11 o'clock to like wrap up and everything, which I think is a stupid rule. Whatever happened to like letting just bands play, and all that stuff, But I remember it was pre that, so I remember it was like midnight or something by the time I got out of the first show. And I remember just being like, that is what my dad was talking about.
Right.
Seeing like The Dead and Pink Floyd and all these like opening bands and Zappa and everything, you know, like that is what a concert is supposed to be like, So I just remember it. And I've also seen the Massacre the last two times they've come to Pittsburgh as well, which was like a real treat. I mean, when Anton goes on, like, especially knowing that, like, there's the 11 o'clock roll, I mean, he starts at 8 o'clock and he stops at like, a little after 11, so he's not breaking any rolls, but he plays, 3 hours, straight,
Yeah.
which is like, I mean, again, that's what concerts should be, let the fucking musicians play, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be nice. I mean, I understand why there's rules and regulations and stuff, but they are annoying sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Like, and I know I remember seeing concerts that like wasn't always that way. That's like within the last, I want to say maybe 10 years now, it's been in effect, maybe a little less, but I I'm just like I mean I remember I went to see Gary Clark Jr. at another venue in Pittsburgh called Stage AE,
Mhm.
and I remember there was like the 11 o'clock mark hit, and he was continuing to play, and he was doing like his encore, and I was like up front and I witnessed the whole interaction, and like he basically went to like get his guitar, like electric one, to do a close, like a heavy closer song. And someone, either his agent or it was someone, basically was like trying to say to him, "You got to stop. It's 11 o'clock." And I remember I saw the whole interaction. He was like, "Give me my fucking guitar."
Right.
And went back on stage, played till 11:30, and I was like, that is a rock star right there.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes it has to happen.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just talking about music and seeing shows and stuff. It's just when you know there's a band and they're a great band, it's like you just want to see them play live, and hope to expect a great show. I have two closer questions for you.
Cool.
We'll end it there. The first question is, what are some of your favorite current bands and bands in general? And then the last question, or sorry, three questions, any upcoming projects? And I know we've been talking about music and semi-movies, but what are some of your favorite films?
So films, huh, always Blade Runner is one that's always been a favorite. But yeah, Blade Runner. I really like. I know it's kind of I don't know. I like the first Dune, or is yeah the David Lynch Dune.
David Lynch doing, yeah.
Even though even though some of the acting is stiff, to say the least. I don't know. There was something about that movie, that version of it, that captured an essence of the book that I find is missing in the newer ones, even though the newer ones just look stunning. Um,
Right.
yeah. Another movie I always love. It's kind of a funny one. It's the Addams Family. I just for some reason when that came out, it was just perfect timing for wherever my head was at. I wish Hammer didn't do the theme song, but whatever. He was the thing at that moment. But yeah, I love that movie. I don't know. There's so many other ones, but I'll leave it at that. Current bands, I have Tremors, love them. There's Sisters of Your Sunshine Vapor, Holy Youth Movement. I kind of like. I got to see Deary in London. They were opening for Slowdive, and that was cool. Still very much into the Mary Chain and My Bloody Valentine, Primal Scream, and Ride, and all that stuff. It's just like that's I don't know. That's the music that just makes me feel comfortable, makes me feel right. So I listen to that a lot. I've also been exploring a lot of like the post punk stuff that I missed because I was too obsessed on other bands. You know, I was very single minded, always have been. So I've been trying to listen to stuff that I missed out on because there's so much good music back then. It's like people really trying to do things outside of what was considered normal. So yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Awesome. And upcoming projects,
Uh,
tours, anything? Tour going on right now. Where are you playing tonight?
we're in LA. We're doing the third night at the Moroccan Lounge, which we did 3 nights at a very small, intimate venue. Um,
Nice.
yeah, and it's been great. We had Tremors open up first night. We had Beasts play with us last night. Another fantastic band forget who's opening for us tonight. And then we're playing San Francisco and then Portland and Tacoma. So it's a short, sweet little way to end the year. Son Adams just came out with a record, so we're starting to write the next one. And that's the way it works. I've started working on the next PIA record. That's always slow going, but it's strangely slightly more positive sounding this time. So a little more upbeat, but early days, so that could all change. Also working with a friend named Josh Hawley. We've done, it's kind of a more industrial thing. We did some music before. It's under Maleko. Yeah, we'll see what that comes out sounding like. So far,
awesome. Any new Dandy material in the works, or I know you just guys released a single.
We're slowly trying to figure out how we're going to go about recording the next record. There's always a kind of an idea seed that starts it, and we're figuring it out. I've got lots of sounds and things that will work. I just need the chord changes and parts to coalesce into actual songs. Just kind of screwing around. Yeah, that's been started. Always slow going there too. So hopefully not 5 years, but yeah, we'll see.
Awesome. Well, Peter, thank you so much for taking the time to swim in the bowl with me. I hope the temperature was just right. I would love to do an interview with you again anytime, any upcoming projects. And hopefully next time in Pittsburgh, I get to meet you in person and everything and the rest of the bands. Absolutely. So it's been, again, a pleasure talking with you. Bucket list item. Tell the rest of the dandies, thank you again for the birthday magic. And then I dreamt of yes. And tell them best of luck with trying to recreate or capture the same magic that was in Pittsburgh so many years ago. And I look forward to keeping in touch and send you a link as soon as it's up. And I sent you a friend request a while back on Facebook.
Yeah.
Just to give you a heads up about that.
Yeah, I'll have to look through that. It's I'm at the almost maxed out friend level, so
yeah.
I kind of ignore all friend requests, but I'll go find you.
I know Zia's at that same point, so
yeah.
Regardless, it has been a pleasure talking with you, and again, I look forward to staying in touch, and best of luck tonight.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you again. Pleasure talking with you. Hey there, all my fishes in the sea. Thanks for tuning into today's episode and for being a subscriber. Your continued listenership and support means the most and helps keep the show growing to deeper and deeper depths. I want to let all my guppies in the sea know the Fisch Bowl has now officially partnered with FastCustomShirts.com, where they're now selling custom Fisch Bowl t-shirts under their podcast and website section. Every t-shirt that's purchased helps and goes a long way to keep the show growing to deeper and deeper and higher depths. I also now have custom hats, beanies, handbags, pens, mouse pads, everything to make you look like the coolest looking fish in the sea, which you can DM me directly on Instagram at the Fisch Bowl 88 or on Facebook at just the Fisch Bowl, or you can friend request me, Sam Fish, directly and get yours today. Your continued listenership and support again means the most. It's the most important fishes that flock together. We are a school of fish and we keep the unit going. Let's all keep swimming upstream.